Hello, hello, my beautiful people. Woohoo! We are so excited to be here live with you. We are so excited and welcome to everyone to our Burnout Summit, Micro Summit. It's such a excitement to be here with my beautiful co-hosts Laura and Michelle. Hello, my beautiful ladies, and our amazing panel speakers. So we are super excited and honored to be your co-host and today on our Burnout Micro Summit where we definitely gonna touch a lot of many phases of burnout, the hidden cost of caring. Whatever you are here on live in the Zoom or you are tuning in from via our Facebook live stream, so please say hello. Let us know where you're tuning from. We'd love to hear from you, and we know you are the right place. Are here at the Body, Mind, and Soul Connection. We are here to be, and we truly believe that we're creating that safe space where healings meets community, because that's why it's called Body, Mind, and Soul. The connection between our body, mind, and soul, but the connection with every single one of you watching and being part of this community, where conversations are going to go deeper than just the surface level. And also, we will get some wellness, our beautiful wellness provider speakers today to dive deep into what is mean burnout, what exactly looks like, and get some tools for growth and healing. So today we are here excited to get all the phases of burnout, how they affect our bodies, how it affects our minds and our souls, and definitely how we can reclaim that energy back. And I know one of our speakers, she said, "I'm here with a lot of energy," so I'm super excited about this. And of course, burnout needs some peace, and then to understand our purpose and to help us in our personal and our professional lives. So we're gonna have exciting times to what to do today. How we gonna do this today? We're gonna go over our a little bit of what we're gonna do today. So as we are preparing for this, let me pull up my things here. Okay. So we gonna do this today? We're gonna do a quick introduction so we know each one who we are. We might for the first time meet here, or the people that are watching us live here, to know who we are, and then we're gonna pass it on to Lana when we're gonna get into the meat and potatoes of the questions that we already have prepared for our beautiful speakers. So we're gonna go a quick 1 minute each one of us, including the co-host. Please, we're gonna go over with your name, your title, and where you're tuning from, and what excites you to be part of our micro summit today. Okay, so we're gonna start with our the first speaker, Kelly, with all the excitement that she's bringing home.
Yes, hello. So I'm Kelly. I'm a doctor of physical therapy, a transformation coach, and the host of Rewiring Health, which is a podcast. But what I really do is I help women who are high achieving recognize and heal from patterns of self abandonment and really embrace self loyalty. So reclaiming their power, living in alignment with themselves, and feeling freedom from the inside out. So I'm so excited to be here and really just want to bring the energy that I came off of a retreat. And so it's just so important to be in alignment. And I'll talk about that later on.
Yes. Amazing, amazing. Let's move on to Michelle. She was doing some dancing moves earlier, preparing.
It's so great to see everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I forgot to add, I know I'm on the west coast of Canada on Vancouver Island. Kelly, you didn't say where you were in the world. Where are you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in New Jersey. So
New
I'm on the other side
Jersey.
of the coast of the state.
Noisy.
Mhm.
Right. My name again is Michelle Beauchard. Call me the natural entrepreneur. I basically help people find their natural offer, on online business aligned with their soul's purpose and help them build out their offer ecosystem with tech that supports all of their offers. So that's what I do, and I love being a co-host here on the network, and it's so excited for today. I think what I'm excited for most is just to, as us, a longtime friend of Marcia and a fellow special needs mom, a burnout is a thing. And I am so excited to learn all of your tips that I've been missing all of these years. So excited to be
Yes,
here.
yes. Awesome. Thank you, my beautiful co-host. And now let's go to the our Michelle's the speaker, Michelle.
My name is Michelle Walker. Super excited to be here. I am actually a professional artist and I teach art and I also teach creativity and how that can show up in your life and a lot of times in unexpected ways. And just start expanding the way we think and view ourselves and really be who we are called to be and work in purpose, right? And doing the thing that we love to do. So thank you. And Burnout, I'm from Wapakoneta, Ohio, in the middle of, wow, in the middle of nowhere in the cornfield. And what was I say? Burnout. Yeah, I don't actually experience burnout as an artist, but I have in the past. So I can't wait to talk about that.
Yes, yes, yes. Amazing. And let's go to Marcia.
Hi, everybody. I'm Marsha, and I'm from the Caribbean. Trinidad and Tobago are the islands. I'm a speaker and a coach, and I've dedicated my efforts in the last 5 years to helping leaders and caregivers still take care of everybody else, but make space for themselves too. Find their truth again and nurture themselves again. Because if you run out, nobody else gets all that care that you want to give to them.
Very good. And last but not least from our speakers, Peter.
Hello, my name is Peter Felischini. I usually work from Vancouver, Canada, but I'm now live from my summer trip in Europe. I specialize in helping high performers find purpose in life. I'm a holistic life coach specialized in helping overcome midlife crisis. And I do believe that burnout is or it goes hands in hand with midlife crisis. So I'm excited to share everything I know about burnout because I learned it the hard way through my own experience.
Amazing, amazing. Europe is always a beautiful place to spend spend your time. And our beautiful co-host Lorna.
I'm here in beautiful British Columbia in the Okanagan, and I am a sex and spirit alchemist of the feminine-led life, supporting people in coming back home to themselves, reconnecting not only their own connection to sexuality, connecting it to spirituality, and moving beyond the myth and the illusion of separation of gender, and even coming back into our wholeness of who we are.
And I am your co-host, Adriana Di Marvel. I'm a confidence and communication coach, and I'm tuning from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And as we start knowing a little bit of who we are, and for our beautiful audience on our live stream, please, we love to hear from you. What are you tuning from? Let us know what you're tuning from. And also, if you start having any questions, it's time to start dropping the questions in the chat, and we will connect with you as we go along. So the next part of this beautiful connection is that we're going to start diving deep into our questions, and we're gonna pass it on to Lorna so she can take us to the next round of questions as we're gonna understand exactly what is this burnout about and what are the tools that our beautiful speakers from their professional experience and from their life experience, because I'm sure each one of you been through burnout sooner or later somewhere in your life, professionally or personal. So we'll pass it on to Lorna.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Adriana. This time we're going to do, we'll have the timer again, and we're going to go for 3 minutes in this time so you can really sink into that and share. What I first want you to, or I invite you to do, is first of all, define what burnout is. I think different people have different definitions based on their own experience. So we want to, first of all, find out the lens through which you are speaking. So what is burnout to you? And then as well, how is burnout, and it's been addressed a little bit here already in the introductions, is what is your own personal experience of burnout? So let's go ahead and let's start with our Michelle Walker, please. Michelle.
Yeah, actually, Burnout, what is it? For me, my experience is when it's soul crushing. Like I said, as an artist, I don't experience burnout now, but in the beginning, I was an engineer, mechanical engineer, and yeah, that was soul crushing. I couldn't take it, had to get out. Went into my dream job as an interior designer, and 15 years of pleasing other women got pretty tiring. So, but as an artist, it's when you're doing something that isn't aligned with who you are, and you're trying to force yourself into something that you think you should be. And whenever I hit that piece of forcing a square peg into that round hole, I'm just, I don't know if it's burnout or anxiety. It just doesn't feel good. And one thing that I've experienced as an artist is that when you can go into that flow and you can create something simple and you can feel that feeling of success, how that can impact other parts of your life. And I think, yeah, I'm not sure what was the question.
No,
So
you're
it
doing.
thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Lorna.
You're doing so well. Yeah, it was that aspect of how do you define burnout and what has been your own experience of it? And even how does it show up for you? How did it show up for you?
Or your clients.
Or yeah. Oh, yes. A lot of times with my clients, what's happening, it shows up as procrastination. It shows up fear of being visible, not sure of what they want to do next, finding their purpose. I worked with a client, he's a high-level engineer at Honda, and finished a project and ended up in a corner, a desk job, and thought five more years, that's what I've got. I'm doing nothing. And really, it was about taking that time to, when you're in burnout, you feel your world getting smaller and like you feel like you're being pushed aside. And that's what creativity can do for you. It can just expand that way of thinking. And yeah, that there is more. But that's how it showed up for me, as being outside, stuck in a corporate job. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Lots of wisdom in there. Let's go, please, to Peter, if you would share again your definition of burnout and how you've experienced it and how it shows up. We can start with there, and then if you get to how it shows up with your clients. Thank you.
Okay, I'll go more into technical part. As I also had, or I'm a head research at Organ Wellness Institute, we have checked what is physical, what's going on in our body when we are experiencing burnout. And now we define burnout as an internal resistance to what we do. And when internal resistance to what we are doing in our life, in our relationships, at our job or in our business, and with our health, and when internal resistance is so high, it literally, the body starts burning inside. It's really similar if we look at it in a physical way, as if we put through electrical wire, if we put through too much current through it, it will start burning. And it's exactly the same in our body. Now, if we go, because a lot of our work is research on the works of Freud, Reich, Jung, we now know that internal resistance, one thing is of course physical in our body, but in physical world, in psychoanalytical terms, internal resistance comes from trauma, grudges, and fears. So we are now able to link the burnout with the exact trauma, either from when we were all adults, if, for example, if we were in war or something like that, or if we had traumas when we were a child and we did not resolve them or work around them, then this internal resistance, it's high. When we go on the outside again, burnout comes in many shapes and forms. So for me, burnout was I was severely overweight. I had 60 pounds more than I have now, or 30 kilos. And I did, I would manage to receive or achieve all of my goals, but they did not bring any satisfaction to me. So I just wanted more and more and more. And it took me years before I figured out that I'm in a burnout and that running or hiding myself in a lot of work is just running from myself, from my problems. And basically my burnout was the escape mechanism.
Wow, thank you so much. What a profound perspective, both physically and scientifically and from your own. Thank you so much, Peter. Let's go now to Kelly. And if you will please share with us, Kelly, your definition, your experience, your personally and with clients. Thank you.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I think the big misconception of burnout is like we often think that it's doing too much and that we're just, burning the candle at both ends. But it's often what it is that you're doing too much of too little of what makes you feel alive. And so when we live in alignment and we ask ourselves, what do I want in my life without the outside input, that's when we can really come home to ourselves in the process. So burnout is when we're looking outside. Sorry, burnout is when we're looking outside ourselves for the answers to what is going to fill our cup and for the answers to feel like we're enough and that we're doing enough. But it's really when we can ask ourselves, like, what is it that makes me feel alive? What is it that fills my cup? What is it that feels most aligned with myself? And really connecting with ourselves. Many people that I work with are so disconnected from themselves because they have looked outside themselves to get those answers. And they are often carrying stories from their childhood of what will do that for them and never actually explore themselves without the external inputs. So it's really allowing yourself that space to know yourself at the core without the influences, without the stories, without the fears, really get to know yourself and then pursue that. And I want to say, like, with burnout, it's not that you're not like living in, it's not that you're living, it's important to understand that there is discomfort in this and that even when you get to know yourself, there's still gonna be moments of discomfort. So burnout brings discomfort, but so does the exploration of those things that are in alignment with yourself. And so a big part of my journey was that I did that. I was always looking outside myself to feel like I was enough, that I was doing enough. And I can really see now, this is very much like stemming from my childhood, to feel that sense of safety that like, okay, if I get the degree, then it'll prove that I'm enough. I'll feel this sense of peace. It was like, it was always out there. It was always in the future, that feeling. But it wasn't until I really got to that point where like I did all the things. I kept going for the degrees, the new jobs. I feel like I was exhausting all the options. And then I got to there and I'm like, well, I did all that and I'm still feeling like this. I just invested how many years of my life, how much money and all these things I invested, but I'm still here. And so it's almost like I had to go through that whole path to realize that that's not the path to take. And unfortunately, some of us have to go through so much pain to actually realize that we have to choose a different way. And it was really, burnout is so subtle, it's so elusive, it just kind of creeps up on you until you hit that breaking point of like, I am watching my life pass me by. I'm here, but I'm not really here. And I really had a moment like that where I was, watching my son grow up and I was physically there, but not mentally or emotionally there. And I realized that something needs to change. So I think so much of it really comes through the pain that we experience and wanting more and maybe not knowing how to do that, but no longer accepting what has caused this burnout in our life.
Oh, powerful. Thank you so much. So much. All right. Marcia, please go ahead and share.
So The first thing I think about when I hear the word burnout is a match burning out. And that's sort of the cliche image that you see. You see all these matches, and you see one that's burned down to a nub or totally black. The thing is that burnout isn't just that end point. Burnout is a continuum. And before you get to that crisis, there's overwhelm and there's diminishing of you and your connection to yourself and your nurturing of yourself and your love of yourself. And that is critical to see. You need to see that that's happening. Unfortunately, most of us, as we head toward that endpoint crisis point of burnout, we don't see that the match is burning deeper because our habits have become so ingrained over many years that it is our reality. This is just the person we've become. And in most cases, this is the person we think we need to be enough. This is the only way we'll be accepted, respected, rewarded, held up as an expert, is if we are perfect. And so we start by fooling ourselves. But why do we first step into fooling ourselves? It often comes from our childhood, is what I've found. I've seen it with me, and I've seen it with so many of my clients. For me, it started when, as early as when I was about 2 years old. I had a sister who was 1.5 years old, younger than me. And the only time I heard what a good girl I was when I helped to prepare the bath for her, when I helped to bathe her, when I helped at 2 years old to clean the place up and to be a big girl in a little body. And when I didn't do it, I was told how far short I fell. I was told how not enough I was. And I wasn't just told it, it was shouted at me. And it was beaten into me. So mine is maybe a little bit extreme, especially in today's world. We don't have a lot of corporal punishment, but I grew up in a little island where corporal punishment was parallel to shouting at a child. And so I learned I could be safe, escape the sharp tongues, and escape the belts if I did everything and if I was the best. And so we go through into work and we try to be our best and we people please and we do too much. So I hope that's shone a little light into burnout.
Thank you so much, Marcia. I would say a lot of light. And I've seen the different people nodding and acknowledging that. Thank you so much. For each of you, it's almost what you have shared, each of you in this collective, these few moments, it's just kind of like, it's profound. I'm literally moved very deeply by what you've each shared.
Lorna, I'm going to jump in and say that
Let's do it.
our audience members are also feeling it. So thank you guys. Brian is saying he's learning more and more from the few minutes he's been here. And he's realizing that part of his burnout includes fear. So thank you for your help already. We're not even half hour in, guys. This is amazing.
Yeah. And you know, and exactly that. And Brian, I love that you're experiencing that and feeling that, because I think that's a big part of it, is we don't always have that recognition to be able to find out what's going on. And as I was feeling this, I think that's the key, is that when something is there, we try to shut it down to not feel. And what each one of you is speaking to is bring it forward, time to feel what's ready to feel, even if that's feeling what is true for me, as each of you has spoken, is what is it that brings me the joy? What is it that, where am I in alignment or not in alignment? So just so rich. I'm just gonna take a drink here. All right, let's see. just to follow in on this then is in your work, and knowing if you can sort of weave in again, a part of where you're even more so than what you've already spoken about is where did that come, that place of that awakening for you to that pivot point for you? What was that piece? Maybe go a little bit deeper into what you've already shared or bring in another angle. And then where in your work do you see as the real root of burnout? And some of these I know you've already addressed, but let's just see what comes out as we continue to speak into this for another 3 minutes each, please. And let's go this time, we're going to start with Peter, please.
Okay, let me start by sharing my own experience. And for me was, I had, so I was experiencing burnout for over a decade, I would say. And because I was investment banker and I had my skin in the game, meaning that I invest a lot of my own capital inside, what I saw is that I'm willing to assume much higher risks because I want to have higher returns. So I was doing more and more risky stuff. And of course, even if I'm a certified risk manager and everything, this backfired severely. And yes, there are risks that you cannot hedge, even if you think that you can. And there are certain risks that you just forget about, even as a professional risk manager. So it backfired, and my company went bust. And then I sat down and said, okay, what am I doing here? And then I noticed, okay, that's a burnout. I'm running away from myself because I'm not comfortable with who I am. So I want to be an overachiever. I want to prove what's going on. And that is when I discovered what I believe is one of, or what is the root of burnout. And this, for me, that was societal induced goals. I come from a wealthy family. I inherited a lot. I started off with a lot, and I wanted more and more and more. So I thought so until I sat down with a psychotherapist and start discussing it, because I never had anyone like accountability partner to talk with me. But in my deeper self, I always wanted to be explorer. I wanted to have an institute, and I want to research things. I want to check other researchers' work, and I want to have my lab. I want to do things my way. That was my inner goals. But my outer goals was, okay, I don't know. I was like 21 years old, and I was already a CEO of a major corporation. I had a chauffeur-driven car, and so on. So it was a complete misdirection for me. And of course, when things did not work out, I just did more of the wrong stuff. So my definition or root of a burnout is doing the wrong stuff and too much.
Thank you so much. And I suspect that's what you find in your clients as well, and getting to that point of midlife, right? So I look forward to you continue to share this with us, what you do with your clients. Thank you so much, Peter, for that wisdom. Let's go now, please, to Marcia.
Okay, so I have these questions written down. What piece does burnout play in the work that I do as a speaker and coach? So I came into this because life didn't feel too fulfilling anymore. And I didn't know when I had lost touch with myself. I no longer could figure out what made me happy. I came home from work, and work was celebrating me, and I was making big gains for work. I had a company car and a great package, and I had all these external trappings. So everybody outside of me said, oh, she's successful. She's having a great life. But I would come home, and the moment my husband met me, he'd say, how was today, Marsh? And I would look at this one person in the world who cared about me. And I would start to cry, this big, open mouth, screaming cry, because I was finally in a safe place. And I wasn't making the world safe for me. And I had never stood up for me and learned that I had a voice that I could use to create a safe space for myself, because I had no confidence that people would honor me, that I had the right to go against anybody. I always had to go the way the wind was blowing. I always had to do what was right for everybody else. And so that's what led me into what I did, because all of a sudden, life brought me such a huge challenge that I no longer could pretend that it was working out. I was giving far too much of myself, and everybody was going to die around me because I could no longer keep them up. I have a brain injured, bedridden child. And if I broke, she would not survive. And my family wouldn't, and my marriage wouldn't. And so I had to ask myself what I wanted. I would go to sleep every night praying to die and not wake up the next morning. All of this is the extreme, because we start to procrastinate because we just can't take the weight of it. And eventually even that isn't enough. And so we want to just disappear. And how the best way to do that is if I disappear from this life that's unfulfilling. So it led me to my work, because when we have a wound, that's the thing we meant to serve from. And so I wanted to give love and safety and the ability to provide that to my clients.
Powerful. Mic drops all the way through this morning. Amazing. Thank you so much, Marcia, for sharing such a vulnerable share. Let's go now, please, to Kelly.
Yeah, so the role that burnout has played in my life is that it very much went hand in hand with this level of abandoning myself. And so I can very much relate to what was just said. It's this like level of safety. Like, I'm not safe to be who I really am, so I'm going to seek outside myself some sense of safety. Other people are happy and there's no outside of myself to feel this sense of safety. And I see it now, but I couldn't see before, but it was all stemming from things that did happen in childhood. And there were a lot of these like themes of like safety is not within you, or like you get invalidated in how you feel. So then like you look for other people, authority figures, that they must know better than I do. And so you very much relinquish your inner authority to others. And you get into this pattern of that, of like, everybody else knows better than me, so I'll just look outside and for me to feel this sense of safety. And it's like, this is not conscious, but we do this subconsciously. We don't even realize it. And we go through that pattern years on end. And where the burnout came is that like I realized I was abandoning myself in so many situations. Like I would just be like a chameleon and be like, you know, say whatever I needed to say to appease the person, or, you know, make them not have any kind of conflict with me, or I'll just take on the extra job and I'll be that go-to person as long as like everything is smooth and there's a sense of safety. But like it all comes at a cost, and the cost was myself. And so the ways it showed up in my life is that it came in through physical symptoms. So I had chronic back pain when I was 25 through my mid 30s, and didn't know what was going on. I'm like, I'm only 25. How is this showing up in my life? And then later on became a physical therapist. I'm like, great, now I can help myself. Went through all the treatments of putting myself through that, and nothing was working. It was only when I started to realize the emotional impacts of that abandonment, that's where it was showing up. So burnout very much showed up physically for me. It showed up in many other ways too, but there's a lot of physical signs that there was something going on and that I was not being loyal to myself. It also came through relationships. So I started to see where, like, as I started to do some more healing, I was not accepting things in my life. So I started to get burnt out in the way I was being treated in certain relationships. And so I just started to realize, like, when do I get to protect my peace? And so the burnout came through me thinking I had to relinquish my peace for a sense of safety. And it was really as I started to tune into myself and realize that I'm worthy of my own peace, my own safety, my own love, that's when things started to evolve. But the burnout was when I thought that everything else mattered more than myself, and that I was maybe being selfish the minute I actually looked out for myself. It was very much these limiting beliefs that came through and way burnout played a role in my life.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for sharing that. And remember, you speaking about that self-loyalty. So thank you for that. Michelle, if you will please go ahead and speak to this.
Yeah. One thing particular, not for me, but for my husband. He was at the time he was coming up on retirement, had 5 years left in retirement, and finished this huge project. And I was watching him just slowly fade away. He'd come home depressed, and he wasn't excited about his work. And we talked about it, and he was waiting on the next project. And he's used to, in his work, he was used to a project. Okay, here's this project, and we need you to develop it. It was a 3-year thing, and he wasn't getting anything. And I thought, I can't just let him sit here and die. He's literally, and then when he retires, then if he comes off 5 years of this, what's he going to be like then? So it was really about taking leadership of your own career, stepping in and learning how to talk about yourself, seeing your own value, how to talk about it, and how to reach out to other people. And he's more of an introvert, so all these things were a little uncomfortable for him. So we worked through that together. And, really, when he started writing down what he had accomplished in his work, and it just opened up a whole new, well, he ended up retiring as a chief technical office advisor in his company. And if he would have stayed behind that desk in that corner waiting, he wouldn't have experienced that. And he got to work go into a department and completely restructure it. He got to do a lot of really cool stuff. He ended up buying a Harley and would drive a Harley Davidson into work every day. And it just, I saw him go from this diminished, shrinking human being to this full of life and excited about going into work in less than 5 years. And he even said that when he saw a photo of him when he was at 50, he looked older than he does now at 60. And now he has his own consultant business. He's working for companies. He loves working with young engineers. It's just really incredible when you feel stuck in your own thing. You're so limited. And that's the thing about being able to go back into that original piece that we lose of ourselves, and then being able to express it. That's really where the joy is.
Thank you, Michelle. Wisdom there, and then a very personal experience of watching that happen. Thank you. Michelle Beauchard, you said you have a question that you'd like to bring forward from Brian.
No, I just wanted to reassure you guys that your words are being felt and heard. And Brian had a great one that I actually want to speak to. But is it possible to work too hard on creating a safe space? And the reason why I feel like I get to speak to this one is because as a special needs mom, when you've got to coordinate all the ologists and all the therapies and all the doctor's appointments and fight the system, and like do all the things and take care of your elderly mom in long-term care. And then I was at also a government job where I was helping military veterans and running a care business to support my son's workers. And so I started to need so much help. And so I began to go, okay, well, I've got to make a solution for this. And now the solution has to be helping everybody else too. And so you kind of like dig in to creating the solution for yourself in a way that it further drives you into burnout. And I ended up, having to learn how to become an employer and WCB and insurance and, dealing with other families and into, like arranging clients. And you tend to, I don't want to say shit magnet, but you tend to become kind of like this, you create your own weather storm is how I'll put it. And calming that storm and coming out of that sense of doggy paddling, crisis gotta do so that I can get out of it, requires that sort of, calming internal focus that I think someone mentioned before. And so I just wanted to reassure Brian that yes, totally possible. You can make it worse for yourself. So yeah, listen to some of these speakers, and I'm really looking forward to hearing. I know Michelle's got some hidden gems there because using art as an expression for this, I'm really looking forward to hearing about that. So that's all I wanted to say about that. Thanks, Lorna. But I also wanted to kind of take a second to pivot and just shift gears on how this connects inside of what we're trying to do here. One of the things that Lorna and Adriana and I are trying to do by creating these micro summits and by creating the Body, Mind, and Soul Network is to connect people who need support with these topics. Whether it was, sleep or grief and now burnout. And we hold these micro summits so that you can tune in on the thing that's resonating for you and to connect you with providers who have different methods and modalities and, personalities and life experiences that can give you the authentic transformation to your life that you need. And so part of what we do here at Body, Mind, and Soul Network is also to connect the wellness providers with the wellness seekers. And so we're really excited. We want to hear from you what your needs are in the comments, what you're experiencing, so that and we want to make sure that our speakers drop. But we also have other containers. If you're finding this valuable, we'll talk a little bit later about our new wellness connection portal, where instead of waiting to access, like 6 months or whatever, Canada anyway, it can be like a long time to wait for an appointment or even a consult being really expensive. So we've created a container. It's like less than a cost of Netflix to join up and be able to ask your wellness questions to these providers who we have in that container. And we're going to be asking and offering as we go forward here for our MicroSummit speakers to be in there and to provide the wellness providers to keep their businesses healthy. We have a provider business circle to help with the marketing and the things that you don't want to get to, and the tech that you don't want to have to do, because you want to be out there serving on burnout, serving on grief, serving on cancer, serving on all of these things. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that, and we're really looking forward to inviting more speakers who are in our provider business circle and the Wellness Connection portal to share more detailed information inside those containers. So Adriana, I just wanted to double check and see if you had any other questions come up that I missed in the chat, because I know I'm glad to hear, Brian, that you think that container would be of use to you. We'll put up information about the Wellness Connection portal in a bit here, but maybe we've got more roundtable questions to get back to as well.
Yes, definitely. We'll pass it on to Lorna to take us to the next questions. We just love that Brian is getting, Brian and a couple of people are putting some, definitely, he said, at one point he said, I think this is what I needed. Crazy thing, it sounds like, but I think this is what I needed to do and go to do what I love the most. Basically is a great reminder from what even Michelle Walker was mentioning about her husband, is to that reminder of going back to do the things we love the most. And that's why we're here. Sometimes we don't need the big tools. We just need a reminder of the things we already know. So thank you, Michelle, for sharing that. So we'll pass it on back to Lorna, where she's going to take us to the next set of questions that we get a little bit deeper into this.
Thank you, Adriana. And Brian, thank you for your questions. And that's what we, as has been mentioned, and that's one of the things we loved about doing the live stream is gives opportunity for people just to really come in and tap into this and to revisit it. Being live stream, they can revisit this and just listen again, because again, the wisdom that has come through already, the perspectives, it's really profound. What I'm going to invite our speakers now to do is to take us into a perspective of not only how, and it's been mentioned that what you're doing right now, what you bring to the world and to the other people is based on your own experience. So with that in the backdrop and that that supporting force is, how do people, like the people that come to work with you, what are some of the ways that it shows up, burnout shows up for them when they come in? When they come to you, it may not be necessarily about burnout, but how do you, with those, those spidey senses and your intuition and your skill and your training, your personal experience, how do you recognize and help them to recognize that burnout is the issue? And then how do you support them in that? So if we can go ahead and speak, Kelly, if you would please begin, share with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So a big way that shows up for many of the people I work with is physically. So a lot of people that come to me have the signs of nervous system dysregulation. So it's that fight, flight, or freeze, that chronic stress that they're in. And they often normalize that, thinking like, doesn't everybody feel like this? Because they've lived in it for so long. They don't even realize that like you don't have to live like that. But to them, that's become their new norm. So that looks like sleepless nights, headaches, maybe jaw pain because they're clenching their jaw at night. They feel the tension, their shoulders are up by their ears, they're feeling like they're sick often. They feel like they just have this like constant pain in their body. They can't really explain it. They just feel exhausted. So a lot of it is these physical symptoms. Eye strain is a big one. Feeling like they just can't focus, the fog, brain fog. So there's so many ways it can show up, but that's often what I see with many of my clients is that they are reporting these symptoms and they're like, yeah, but like, I mean, doesn't everybody not sleep? Like, this has been something I've dealt with for years. Like, and thinking that because they've dealt with it for years, that somehow makes it normal. And I can very much relate to that because that's what I thought too when I was going through all that until you can see the other side. Another thing I see with many of the people I work with is that they will have this mindset of like life is happening to them. So, when they have a boss that maybe isn't treating them well, or they have like disagreements with their family, they're like, everything's just happening to me. Like it's almost like this victim mindset, and it's not to blame them, but this is a lot of those subconscious beliefs of like that are driving a lot of that, where you're taking life and saying like I'm powerless, because when we're in that mindset of like life is happening to us, we're relinquishing our power. And that's when we start to experience that burnout, because we think that we don't have the ability to get ourselves out of that. It's suffocating, it's constricting. So I will often hear many people like in many ways say that like this happened to me, and of course that would have happened, and what else is going to happen? So it is very much that kind of like spiral down of like looking at how life is all affecting you and thinking that you are powerless to get out of that. So it's that combination of the physical symptoms, which like I said, that brain fog, like now we also think that, we can't get out of that, but we also are having these physical symptoms that are perpetuating that cycle. So you're now exhausted and you're like, how do I even pull myself out of this because I'm feeling all this? And so it becomes this spiraling effect of like, how do we change that? And when you're in that spiral, it feels like it's going to last forever. It feels suffocating. And so that's often when I see many people who do come to me are like, I don't even know where to begin. Like, how do I even start to get out of this? Or they think that they are like not able to be helped, or they're like this special situation where like, how could you even get me out of this situation? Because they've kind of gotten to that spiral effect.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kelly, for that that perspective and from your work. Thank you. Let's go now to Michelle Walker, please.
As working as an artist, what I'm finding, the way it shows up, that I could tell that they're in burnout is through procrastination and just really unsure what to do next. And, a lot of times it's those limiting beliefs of, well, or that uncertainty of themselves, or the self-doubt that can really hold us back, all of us, right? And that's when I work with people, I try to find ways to help them see possibilities and open them to that thinking, learning how to think in a different way, because that's what creativity is all about. It isn't, that you just make art. It's also a way of it's a way of expressing yourself. And a lot of times we rely so heavily on what we think it is and what it should be, but we don't give our time or the space to be able to explore and be curious. And what I see, when I'm working with someone, it's usually not what they think it is. Usually creativity isn't what they think it is. And we don't even really talk about that, but it's just finding a way to go into where they're at that moment and exploring, what is possible. Is really a lot of what I do with my clients.
That's amazing. I love that because, sometimes we don't stop. It's like it's counterintuitive that the way out of the burnout is to slow down and
Yes.
to think differently. And I know I have a really hard time with art. Just like it's that whole thing Marcia brought up about the perfectionism and like, oh, it's not going to look right, I can't do it, and we get into these messaging about it, and we hold ourselves in that place. So I love how you use how do you break, I want to know how you break people into their creative mind.
Well, a lot of times we hold ourselves captive. A lot of the people I work with don't believe they're creative, and they don't understand their own creative self and what makes them creative. And that's a big piece of it. It's not what you think.
Very true. And even Michelle, I can speak to that because I've gone through different workshops with you, different creative things, and it's not something, whenever you have extra time or people, I'm not creative. And even though I see myself as a creative, that where the processes that you've taken me through is just kind of like, wow, to be able to use this for business. Like it was a totally different thing. It was amazing. That's great. All right, let's now please go to Marcia.
The clients that I work with, I see burnout in them in many different ways. One is I start to recognize them as type A personalities. Now, we don't usually label everybody as type A, but here's what people who say type A mean. They mean that they are high achievers. They're usually front of the pack, leading the charge, coming up with more and more ideas. They are the ones who take on the big challenge. They are the ones that the boss comes to at the last minute to pull you out of the gutter when there's no way to save this project. So we need somebody to work through the weekend, or we need somebody to pull together this team and do magic, or you're the one who steps up. So that person tends to be the overthinker, the overdoer, the savior. And so we find that they are so steeped in this identity because we earn our worth, we prove our worth by showing up like this, that it's not possible for us to say, but I had plans this evening and I can't change my plans in this moment. Nope, we tell our husband we're not coming home. Or unfortunately, we can't do this other thing that really meant something to us. Right? So there's no sip and paint. There's no going to that concert because work needs me, or because my parents need me, or because my friends need me. And the other thing that you see is you might have a friend group, where you are the one everybody comes to help. But when you need help, nobody really says, how are you doing? How can I help? Because it's almost as if we've trained everybody to use us. And we've trained ourselves too to never say, I'm in need. It's so hard for us to ask. So we need to learn how. The other thing is, because we are these overthinkers and overdoers, we live in our heads and we push down our emotions. The hard emotions, no, we don't take it out. We don't feel it. We don't dissect it and see what it means and what we need to learn from it. We shove it down and we show up again. And our energy keeps getting drained. And so you find yourself using words like, I'm running on fumes. And although you run on fumes for years, and you keep using all your energy to maintain that false model of how life is. So those are some big ones. Another one that's big is the people who love us the most, who make us feel safe. We take our frustrations and resentments out on them because they are the safe ones. And then we feel guilty about that.
Lots in there to ponder and to really reflect on. Thank you for all of that wisdom, Marcia. Peter, please go ahead and share with us.
Yeah, first, great insights from other speakers. So I'm going to be more technical or more hands-on. Let me start with how I recognize burnout in my clients or people I work with. The number one thing that I see is they tend to do too much of the wrong stuff. So they just they want to, for example, if it's about their diet, they would like to work out, or yeah, their workout, they're trying to use their workout to mend what they miss in their diet. That's a typical thing that I see with people that are going in the burnout. The second thing, because I work with high performers, usually they have unsustainable goals, even wrong goals, that sometimes they are not even moral. And it's the same in business, in food, or in health, and in relationships. These goals apply to everything. If these goals are unsustainable, then we know that they are either in burnout or they are really close to it. Then, in psychoanalytical sense, I see their conscious and unconscious mind are not synchronized. So they think I have to do this, but their heart wants to do something else. And what I see, they're not grounded and they're not in their body. They dissociate their mind completely and they don't care about the illnesses. They don't care what happens because they have to achieve this goal that, as I said, is usually the wrong goal. And there are certain illnesses that we recognize in the midlife, and these are diabetes and cancer, and all these are the expression of long overdue burnout problem. Let me jump to how do I support them. I use a lot of Jung teachings. People that are in burnout, they are not aware of the shadows of the archetypes they're living in. So my job is to help them be aware of the archetype that they are living, and then be aware of the shadows. And let me just jump to my experience. I was living as a rebel and as a ruler. So two conflicting archetypes. And only when I found out about that I have to switch to explorer and magician, I could get out of the burnout. that was a long phase and took a lot of therapy to allow myself to be something that is not perfect in a, let's say, according to the societal induced goals.
All right. Powerful, and bringing in the archetypes there. What a beautiful, brilliant perspective. Thank you so much. All right. Michelle, do I have time for one more question, or do you want to?
Find the mute button here. I think we probably can move to the we definitely want to hear from the people in the group about what their biggest takeaway from today is so far, already. And also we want to let you know that if you didn't know how good this was going to be and you want to catch up with Michelle and Marcia and Peter and Kelly in the VIP session, you can still do that. We've dropped the registration link in there in the comments so that you can still sign up to come into the VIP session. But I think we were going to go into a speed round with these guys of what words of wisdom and inspiration or hope they would like to leave with our audience before we kind of did some more. We might have some more time. What do you think? Do you guys want to answer one more question before we do the speed round? Probably. I think we can. I'm just looking at the time here because our experts have been so effective in sharing. I think we do because I think we do have time for that. Let's do one more question and then we'll do the words of hope.
For sure, for sure. So if we can hear from each of you a little bit more about, like, how do you've identified how they sometimes people will show up, how you know that it's burnout. How do you support people in working with burnout? Some of you have addressed this in part already. If you can give some ideas so those who are listening get a sense of and can start to resonate, because it's not always just the words, but there's going to be sometimes that resonance of something that they're doing rings true. I can feel that connection there. So it's just going to take a moment again we'll go a round of let's go for a round of 2 minutes and share how it is that you work with people. And again, that can address even not only specifics, but also do you do it one-on-one? Do you do it in group? And why do you choose the method that you do? Let's go, please, and we'll start with Peter this time.
Okay, so my go-to method, because of my experiences, are interviews. I make a lot of interviews on my podcast with many different experts, and I'm a strong believer that you have to somehow resonate with the person that conveys the message. So if I'm not the right person to convey one message to you, you have to go and find another coach, another mentor, therapist, because you have to resonate. There needs to be this confidence, this trust, and of course motivation to establish the right connection that can make or that can help facilitate change. So if you ask me what is the first thing that I ask people to do is start grounding yourself. This will ground your nervous system, and this is the best first step to get out of the grounding. You have to start feeling yourself a bit differently in order to see that the change is possible. And even if the burnout is really, let's say, a difficult or a complex topic, I use more motivation in the beginning and more accountability partnership in the next phase. So I push them into the solving the problem with motivation, but then I keep them in the solution state through being their accountability partner That is why I do group coaching and one-on-one coaching. And for the special guests, I do retreats for them.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you, Peter. Let's go to Michelle Walker, please.
Yeah, what I always do, I always start a class with teaching how to draw a straight line without a ruler. Because if you could do something with just your body and you could feel that success, you learn so much about yourself, and that opens you, when you're feeling that instant success, it opens you to learning more. And so often we depend on other things outside of ourselves. And that's even with like creativity. I thought it was, I'm an artist now. I thought creativity was outside of me. I thought it was something else. And it wasn't until I like, oh, it's my whole self as an engineer in the way I think, the analytical thinking, problem solving. It's the artist and being able to see things differently. And when that all comes together, and I share that wisdom with my students. And I love working in small groups, because what I see in small groups is as they're learning, they're feeding off of each other. And it becomes this collective group, this lifting up of, wow, I didn't know I could do that. And I use drawing. And I use drawing because if you can write your name, it's a visual language, becomes a visual language. And it's paper and pencil. And it's something you have access to. And it's that ability to create. And it isn't about learning how to draw art, but it's learning how to express yourself in a new way, which we literally need. We're doing that every time we get online, right? When we're creating these businesses, we're learning how to express ourselves in a new way. So that's the fun part.
Which would be then a part of that whole healing part of moving beyond the burnout, of tapping into that. Thank you so much. All right, let's go with Kelly, please.
Sure. So my big thing is when I'm working with people is we first have to create safety in the body. So reestablish that sense of safety within the body. And it's, if you think about if a bear is in front of you and you're trying to get somebody to think differently, like they're gonna be like, I can't focus on what you're saying because there's literally a bear in front of me. And that's where so many people will like try to force feed things into their mind or try to make changes, but it's really about creating safety. Like letting you know that you're safe first, that you can be receptive to new messages, new beliefs, new ways of living. So big part that I work with people on is creating that safety within their body, using some nervous system regulation tools, starting to feel a little bit differently and noticing those micro changes and then really being receptive to that so that you can move forward. But a big part of what I do is I have a community. So it's women who often are kind of struggling with some of the same things. So you can see that you're not alone in this, because so many times we can feel like we're the only ones going through this. But when you have somebody who's like, oh my gosh, I just dealt with that, or this worked for me, I find that works so beautifully, is that people can exchange the energy and really see what's been working for them and kind of take pieces that resonate and leave the ones that don't. And so in that, I offer like micro classes. So like little classes, so you can get just little bite-sized pieces in that, because again, the women I work with often are, they're self-abandoning, so they don't want to make this big commitment often because that seems just too overwhelming. So you can make these little shifts and start to see, oh, I feel a little bit differently. Okay, let me just do a little bit more. That's when things really open up. So then the next part of what I do with many of them is once they start to feel safety in the body, is that then you dive into some of these belief systems that they've carried and really start to question them. What is that true? Is that serving me? Is that helping me get to where I want to go? And really establishing the vision for their life and having a direction that they can go into, and seeing that, are those beliefs helping you get there, or are they helping you stay kind of stuck where you are? So I find that's a really profound shift when we have the combination of the two.
Thank you. That is awesome. Let's go now. Thank you, Kelly. Marcia, let's hear what you will have to say on this, please.
The first thing I do when I'm working with clients is to connect with those clients. So we have a conversation because it's really important for me to start with what's life like for you? How does it feel every day? What's really heavy? And are you able to see a different future for yourself? Some people can't. And so we actually have to get them to a place where they can imagine something better. And some people already know, I can't bear this. So we know the future means removing as opposed to creating. And the future becomes better when we remove. So sometimes it's what I want to create. Sometimes it's helping them to envision something audacious. And sometimes it's removing the thing that's really toxic and eating away at them. And there could be many. And so I use a mind, heart, and body model. What are our limiting beliefs and our mindsets that might be pinning us to the thing that's not good for us? What are the shifts that we need to make to our limiting beliefs? Where did some of those things come from? They may now be weeds in our garden. They may have served us once upon a time, but it's time to pull up some of those weeds and replant better plants. And so those are the kinds of things that we do. I also agree with what Kelly said. You can't tell somebody, fix these 20 things. It's not going to work for somebody who is in burnout because maybe doing one is a whole big hill to them. And so I believe in small steps with big impact. So we do one thing at a time. And if it feels hard, what's the smallest action you can take right now to take positive action? And once you see that change, another step becomes so much easier.
Thank you for sharing that, Marcia. One step easier and then sometimes more clear too, to what is the next step. So thank you for that. All right.
And Lorna, I would love to actually hear from you and Adriana, because I know that your journeys are also have been touched by burnout. Just in a few seconds here, maybe we could get you guys to both. Let's start with Adriana, actually, if you don't mind. Adriana, why did we want to do this? Why did you and me and Lorna decide? And how has it affected you? And what have you learned so far?
Oh, you're gonna like or not gonna like my answer. It's because I was selfish. I was really selfish because I needed a community, okay? We all need a community, and and not in the bad way, but in a good way, because I knew that I keep asking myself, what do I need? Like I know Marsha was mentioning, I even wrote, what you're able to see your future, what would you like your future to look like? So I had to ask myself that question when I went through multiple burnouts, professionally and personally. And then if something keep repeating, you know what they say, on the beginning you finger point everybody. It's like, no, is the society, is my work, is my husband, is my la 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 la. And then I realized that, wait, I'm the common thing in all of this. So let me ask me what I need and why do I repeat these things? And the question was, how did I co-create this and why? So why I wanted to create this, as I connected with these beautiful ladies that come into my life to rescue me, basically. And then I realized that, wait a minute, as we were discussing, this is not just me. We all going through different things, but actually the root cause is the same thing. And it's come back to community. Community, the same. That's why we decided to call it body, mind, and soul connections, because our body is a community of things coming together and they working beautifully together. But also, we are a community. We need people around us. We are human beings. We're here to co-create things together. And in this crazy fast pace of life and times that's happening today, I feel like we are more connected online, but we are more disconnected in the same time. So when we talked about bringing to body, mind, and soul, bringing this community together and start doing the micro summits and all of this, is to literally be the glue and connect people, the right people with the right people, to come together to help each other. Because I know from my own experience, when I start looking into get help, because I realized that I can't do this by myself, I got overwhelmed. Who do I ask? There's like a million coaches, a million therapists, a million wellness provider. Who do I trust with my things inside of me that I don't even trust them to bring them out? So I needed a community. That's why we decided to create this community, to be able to feel safe enough to learn about the people that I can let them go inside and help me to get myself out and be able to understand what's happening inside of me. So that was one of my biggest why that I want to create this community, is because doesn't matter what we do, we cannot do it alone. Believe
That's
me,
amazing.
I tried that.
Yeah, right. And whether it, our providers each showed up differently, like Michelle with her creative groups, and Kelly with the classes and the body, and Peter, collecting the knowledge and expressing that in his podcast, and Marcia working on her one-on-ones with clients to deep dive into their personal situation. Everybody's modalities are different. Lorna, how have you felt about today's burnout session, and how that's how that influenced us bringing this session together?
Well, as we call it, the many facets of burnout, and as we're talking about it, we're hearing that from each of us, and the common theme that I'm seeing and hearing is that of how we've been taught to please everybody else, look outside of ourselves, and what's the common denominator that's in all of that? It's us. But that's the last place we've been taught to look there. And I think that's where the treasure is. So look outside. So it's like this treasure hunt that everybody is on, that we're on, is just redirecting in our own journeys first of all, and then how we support other people in doing that. And I think that that's where having this micro summit, again, as I said, just after that first round, I was just moved so deeply by the depth, the heart of what's being shared. And I think that's one of the things, why do we love doing these micro summits? To be able to bring these beautiful people here with their wealth of experience and their heart to be able to support people in their own journey. And as I like to talk about the diamond, that you take a diamond and there's all of these different facets. And instead of it, we think about the glitter, but it's kind of like, no, that every facet, when you look at it, it brings it to the inside. So each of you is that facet of that diamond that is helping people, first for ourselves, but then in here. So whoever's listening to this micro summit now, today, live or by replay, on the YouTube, wherever it's going to be available, is that there's going to be somebody that, as Michelle mentioned, the facet of you is going to be resonant with somebody that just says, that's the one I've been looking for. So we want to thank you. What's that?
Yeah, totally. And for example, Brian has just decided to join us in the VIP session afterwards, because you guys have spoken so to his heart. And this is so I was really excited for that, because that's exactly what we had hoped when we would create this community of heart-centered, soul-driven, life experienced, very skilled providers that we get to know, like, and trust in the community, but then have these topic-based micro summits that the people who need that help on that thing can then come together and align. So super stoked that's happening, and that Brian will join us in the VIP session afterwards. But I was wondering maybe if we could switch to the piece where we ask you guys about your words of hope for people. What's it like after you finish working with them? So I want you to talk about the transformation that you see in your clients, or the benefits that you've heard back from them. For example, in Peter's case, like, what connections have you made? What collaborations have you started? What transformations in people's lives have you seen just by doing your own work and encouraging other people who want to follow their helper path to being online wellness providers, what they can expect to see, and what your clients see when they work with you. So I don't know if that question is clear, but what transformation do you see in your clients? And I'm just going to leave it at that. Maybe we can start. Let's start with Marcia, and we'll give 2 minutes each, Lorna.
So the clients that I've worked with, we have seen some changes in the way they talk to themselves. Their inner critic used to have some really sharp teeth and rip into them constantly. From the time they open their eyes in the morning, it was telling them what they should do and what they should fear, not doing well enough. And after they had finished doing things, it would tell them all the mistakes and all the flaws. And the transformation is that most of those people who've passed through the program come out on the other end saying, I can be imperfectly me and love it. So they show up on social media sharing stories of the messes in their life and actually having a laugh at the things that have happened because, hey, that's life and everybody else has an imperfect life too. But for the first time, they are able to say, yeah, so what? Because at the end of the day, the world keeps going and they are still at the top of their game because it's so inherently them to be people of excellence. That doesn't stop. It's just that they learn to be gentler and kinder to themselves. So that's a big one. Another one is that they learn to say yes to themselves. Before, they used to say yes to everyone else, and those yeses were no's to themselves. And so now they first ask themselves, what do I feel about this? What do I want and need? Can I honor that? And yes, because they are responsible people, sometimes they choose still to say yes to others, but so many more times, it's about how do I honor me? The last one I'd say is they learn to build a circle of care around themselves. And it's people who genuinely hold space for them, celebrate them, show up for them the way they do for others. But at the core of that is themselves. They learn to press pause and celebrate their wins, something they've never done before because they're always racing into the next thing. Thanks.
Oh my gosh, Marcia, and considering, I see why your gift here and in your trajectory of your path from having it literally beaten out of you to not care for yourself, to helping people embed that in their neurology that they take care of themselves. And so thank you so much for being here. You're a real gift. Michelle, yeah, what I know your clients have these poof moments. So tell us about what results I see, or just any words of hope or any feedback that you've gotten about what your work does for people.
I love that. There is a lot of poofing that happens.
Light bulb is what I meant.
Oh, okay.
Not so poofy. I do that a lot.
The big thing, my hope is, so often we deny the very thing that we want, right? So, I don't care about running a marathon, but I want to, create these classes online. And so we deny the very thing that we desire is really big. And a lot of that time it's, we're working partial speed, right? Because we're thinkers, that overthinking. That's a big one for those analytical thinkers, right? We put so much time and stock in that I could think myself out of the box. But what we forget is that heart and that creative expression. And when you're running on all those three pieces, your awareness, that openness, and you can shift from one to the other. So it just gives you more room to move and grow within yourself. And, so many people say, I'm not creative, but they were born with it. We were all born with it. And it's taking the time and understanding that creativity isn't just about a pretty painting on the wall, that it is problem solving. It could be show up in so many ways. But the thing I see in my clients, they're moving forward. They're doing what they love to do. They are so impressed and wowed what they're able to do. And when you're feeling those successes, it impacts your life, your relationships, your work, and it becomes something, you become fuller, enriched in yourself. So that's it.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So grateful for that perspective, because I once it takes a lot of creativity to understand the illogic sometimes, and having that perspective on how we can solve our burnout in ways that we haven't thought of before, just as a really great piece that you're bringing. Actually, Peter, let's go with you next about this.
Okay, so I'll start more in general. It's gonna sound like a bad commercial. So the general results are better relationships, better business, and better health. But let's move to more hands-on results. I believe these are more important. Um, our clients we teach them how to set their goals more in line with their inner self. I think that's important. They learn how to recognize and then balance their conscious and subconscious mind. We also give them tools to access their subconscious mind as dream interpretation and similar. We teach them forgiveness, and we always start by forgiving ourselves first, then others. We push them into great gratitude, being grateful for simple things, because this is also important. It's not just big things. Then we encourage them to get grounded daily, twice a day, 3 times, as many times as possible. Get in touch with their body and get out of their head. And the words of wisdom, and it's not mine, I just use it. Do not neglect your inner child just to play a responsible adult. And our inner child will inevitably lead us into burnout if neglected. And let me give a couple more hands-on advice on in technical terms. In business, use automatization, optimization, and outsourcing to get out of the burnout. So try to pass things to others and take the time back to yourself, for yourself to schedule rest, fun, food, exercise, and being with the people you love. In personal space, learn how to set boundaries. In health, just remember less is more. Fasting is healthier than food.
I love that. I love your pragmatism, because, so often we get so wrapped up in the do, and we forget. I think Tony Robbins talks about, being the owner, not the operator of your business, for example. And we forget to delegate. Other people can help us, like, thank you so much, Peter. Thank you for connecting people with people who can help in your podcast too. We're looking forward to the links for that. Before we go to Kelly as our last one, I want to remind people that at the top of the hour, we will be going into our VIP closed session. So we'll be closing off here on the live. And there's still time to get your VIP ticket if you'd like to come to that session. Just go back. We've dropped the link in there, and just grab your ticket and we can join. But Kelly, let's hear about the transformations you see in your clients, and any words of hope or wisdom you'd like to leave with our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So the big transformation I see in my clients is that they feel like they can unapologetically live their truth. They feel aligned, they feel authentic, they feel like they know themselves, they feel connected with themselves, and they feel like even if the world is chaotic around them, that they can come home to themselves. And it's almost like growing deep roots of a tree. Like even if there's a big windstorm that's going on outside, those roots really anchor you into where you are. You feel centered. You feel like you have somewhere to really just feel safe within yourself. And it's that, life is always going to happen. We're always going to have these stressors. We're always going to have things that are occurring, but they don't affect us as much. And so when people first come to me, I find that they're like in these high valleys, low valleys, high peaks, big big effects when things happen outside themselves. And then as they progress through, like even though things are happening, they're like, okay, I can buffer that a little bit better. I know I have the tools to help myself out of that. Like I know that, you know, even though if I feel that grief, that fear, whatever it is that's coming up for them, that they can pull themselves back more into like a neutral space and get back into that sense of peace within themselves. So it's that realization that no matter what's happening outside of you, that you always have this ability to come back home to your center within yourself. And so it's that then creates a sense of safety that like I'm not going to go through this world fearful of what could happen because I know that I have the capability and capacity within myself to bring myself back to that safety within me. Yeah, that's
incredible.
that's the transformation. Yes.
So many people need that, and that sense of safety, especially what you're talking about before about the physical body safety and how that's tied into your ability to even absorb information about how to get out of the burnout. It's just so critical. And thank you so much for being here. We've got all the angles. We've got the psychology and the lifestyle and the pragmatic tips and the creativity. I just love how these micro summits sort of cover the many facets. Adriana, have we had any questions?
Yes, definitely. We had a couple of questions, but I want to address the last one. Elena, she's watching all the way from Slovenia. So hello, all the way from Slovenia. And she said a couple of things. She said, feeling immensely grateful for being invited to this precious summit. I wish more people will dive deep into their stories, open up and reconnect and listen to such insights and find valuable guidance and support and create a safe space for themselves and others. And then she's asking a question. So my question to the speaker is, do you remember that moment or a period in your life when you started to see or feel that changes or a different life that is possible for you? Was there a particular modality that helped you? So if we can do maybe 1 minute for each of the speakers.
This will be our speed round. Lauren is on the timer.
So we want to start with Marcia. I see she's like thinking like,
So for me, it was the last day of February, and I was laid off my job on that Friday. So I came home and I told my husband, I'm laid off because my boss had a mental breakdown, laid off everybody until he could find himself again. And 2 days later on the Sunday, my dad died in a car crash. And so I had a 1-year-old son on my shoulder. I had my dad, who was the one person who showed up for me, had passed away, and I had lost my job. And so that was the first big rock bottom for me in my life. And this was when I was going through being an engineer and being told by my boss that he wished the ceiling would come down on me and crush me, those sorts of things. And I didn't have a voice to stand up for myself. And I remember asking myself, are you going to go back into this? And the answer was, what would dad want for you? And it was, he'd want you to be happy. And so I created a new career for myself from scratch. And I learned to use my voice and I learned to honor myself. And it was a slow, painstaking process, but so worth it.
Yes. Beautiful. And thank you so much for sharing such not an easy part of your story, but I think it's so potent and powerful for other people to connect with. Let's go to Peter.
Yeah, I had let's say different experience because I was in a burnout probably for 10 years, and when my fourth company went bankrupt and I got divorced and I moved from a city area into more rural place, everything came together and life just stopped. And my nervous system was as a consequence of a burnout, it was completely useless. I was easily aggravated. I was nervous all the time, and I had nothing to be nervous about because everything was fine and I had beautiful life, and I ticked most of the boxes on my um, bucket list, and I prepared a new bucket list. Okay, I'm starting a new, and why am I waiting for? Because like from 40 items on my bucket list, I can do 20 right now. So that was my moment, and I said, okay, if I can do 20, let's just start doing it one by one, and that was the first thing that got me out of the burnout.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, it's beautiful. Sometimes it's hard to share those personal things, but I think they are. Thank you, each one of you, for sharing those such intimate personal moments, because I think that's what actually connects us and remind us we're all humans and we're all going through things like that. So thank you, Peter, for that. Let's go to Michelle Walker.
Yeah, I really appreciate being here because you all are bringing up. I never thought of burnout the way I'm learning more about burnout that I never really thought about. So thank you. A pivotal moment for myself. I started the online business, jumping in and creating an online business. And when they're like, just jump on camera and do a live video and just, say this, that, and whatever. And I couldn't do it. I I was fearful. I looked like a deer in the headlights. And I asked my daughter to watch me and give me advice. And she was, Mom, just be yourself. And I thought, what is myself? What is that? Right? What is that? And I'm an artist, but I hide. I hide my stuff. So learning to come out of hiding, learning who I am and show up and to life and having fun. That's really what it's about right now.
Yes, that's such a powerful question to literally people say, be yourself. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? It's such a powerful question to start.
Because I am myself, right?
Exactly,
I'm my
exactly.
scared self, and I don't want to be my scared self. I want to be that confident, right?
So powerful. Let's go to Kelly.
Yeah, so big transition. I would love to say it was just like this inner knowing, but it really became like my whole life kind of fell apart on me at one moment. And I was just like, I could choose to like go back to what I knew, or I could choose a different path. And during the pandemic, my husband and I both got furloughed from our jobs as physical therapists. And then, we had a 9-month-old son. We had just built a house. And it was just this moment of like, I don't want to go back to that. I can't go back to that. And then that's when my brother actually helped me establish my business. And then that's really like, as the business grew, I had to grow to be a fuller person to support that. And that really became my growth. And part of that was investing in myself, and that financial investment, I think, was a huge catalyst for me to realize that like I'm worth it, and I have to now pour the energy into myself. So it was that commitment. Like I had skin in the game, and I'm like, okay, like this is a huge investment in myself. I see it financially, but now I'm actually going to take that and transmute it into the energy and time into myself. And that became a big catalyst for me putting it back into myself and not into everything and everyone outside myself. And that's really when I started to see the transformation, see things open up, feel lighter, feel a little bit more free. My thoughts started to change in my mind. So what, not so negatively driven, ruminating on negativity. I started to have these more positive, expansive thoughts. And that really just opened it up from there.
Yes. Investing in yourself because you're worth it. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Such a beautiful reminder, Kelly. And let's hear about from Lorna as well too, our host. Why not? You are muted.
It's been just an amazing thing. I have loved everything that has been shared from the very first time coming around. It's been just an amazing thing of watching and hearing people, what you've shared. And yeah, I'm just moved deeply, and I'm struck by how each person brings such a unique piece and a potent piece, that every piece is as powerful and as valued as every other one, and just another piece of it. And I'm just so in awe of what's been shared today.
Amazing. And Michelle, our co-host? We can hear you. We cannot hear you. There you go.
Okay, thank you. My button, I couldn't click my button. I think we have these moments, and I really appreciate hearing about these speakers sharing these personal moments of when burnout served as a catalyst, as a a crucible where it burnt away everything else except what was pure. And for me, mine was the burnout of doing all the things and running the business and helping the mom in the facility and running my son's care and my daughter's mental health and doing a full-time job all at once, and that all of the impacts on the finance and the relationship and emotional and psychological effects just coming together. And the moment, like, it was sort of like a period of about 6 months where I lost the spouse, the house, my mom, and a number of things. And so those periods of time that you just don't know where you're going to go to, and it burns you. It does burn you down and burn you out, but it also burns away the things that aren't important. And it allows you the moment that you have the opportunity to reflect and go, okay, why am I here? What is my true purpose? What have I learned from the things? And that's why I really, and I am a rock hound. I'm going to finish. And I love to collect gems, and I feel like each of you are a gem that has been polished by life, and it's so great to have you here in the Body Mind Circle.
Beautiful. Thank you. We're gonna pass it on to Lorna now to get us to the conclusion of all of this.
Yeah, and it's been so rich, as I said. It's just been such a rich thing, and I love the participation from those people who are watching live. And so those of you who are watching live by replay, I'm just going to invite you to put into the comments what have been some of your greatest takeaways from today, from what you have heard, what you have felt. So if you can just go ahead and type that in, and then we can go ahead and share that. What we're going to invite as well is for our speaker, our panel speakers, if you would share a bit of your experience. What has this been like for you? For some of you, maybe it's just a natural thing to get on. You've got your podcast. For some of you, it's kind of like, no. What has it been like for you to say yes to coming on to this time? What has it been like for you to share, to listen to other people, to hear the questions? So I'm just going to invite you in a minute time to share what has this experience been like for you. And let's go ahead with Michelle, please.
I really enjoyed thinking about what I do in a new way, and how burnout shows up, and what I would suggest, and how what I do will help others. But what really is fascinating is I feel like we're all talking about the same thing, right? And that's what amazes me. I used to think, oh, everyone has their own thing that they do, and we're all talking about life and trying to figure out our life and trying to share what we have. And we're all kind of in a group doing that. And it's these spin-offs, each one of us spinning off. I'm like, I overthink. Yeah, I'm a perfectionist. And it's really that I find really interesting, and the way everyone is different, but yet the same.
Kelly, if we can have you share next, please. What has this experience been like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just so interesting to see that common thread that we all have experienced, but yet in a very different way. And I think just sharing, like, it brings that self-reflection of like, wow, like, look how far I've come, but also having that like humbleness to realize that there's so much more to go too. And that there's no point we have it all figured out, but it's like putting those tools in place, putting the community in place, putting the right people in place, and realizing that you're worthy of more. And that has been a huge catalyst in all that. And I see that in so many of us. We just realize, like, I can't live like this anymore. I don't want to accept this in my life. I want something different. And that's really that turning point, I think, for so many of us, that like you see the pain. And it's like only through pain is where we actually will evolve. Like if things were comfortable, we would stay like that forever. So we have to be grateful for the pain of those situations, as hard as they may be, that was the catalyst for more growth, more expansion, and a whole new life. So I think it's just fascinating to see how we can all very much relate.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly. And Marcia, please, let's go ahead and hear from you. What this has been like for you.
I was coming into this call and my intuition just said, you know, Marsh, forget any learned or prepared stuff. Just show up there authentically, just talk, just listen, just honor others and honor yourself and your story. And that's what I did. And what I found is by allowing myself to be vulnerable and show the reality of what my life has been, I give other people permission to do the same for themselves. And that's what we want this world to be full of, people who see that we get to show up just as ourselves. We get to work through the pain. And in doing that, we open up joy and fulfillment. And that's the world that we all want.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Marcia. Peter, please share what this experience has been like for you as a part of the summit.
Yeah, I'm part of a lot of summits, but I'm rarely this humbled by other speakers and hosts. So a lot of knowledge. I really like how people don't talk about what they sell. And okay, these are my 5 advantages, and we're better at this. But they just really open their heart and let us see that we might be a bit too rigid about going or talking about burnout, because it's more a human kind. It's not something outside of us, but it's we are humans, and to experience burnout is to be human. It's to have a human experience, and this is really humbling for me. And I'm really grateful to be part of this panel, and for everything that I've learned from other speakers, especially how they use this their heart in the process.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Peter, and for being a part of this. Each one of you, thank you so much for being a part of this. And yeah, Michelle and Adriana and I are just in awe and such gratitude for you showing up, each of you, and what you have shared, how you have shown up and been here so authentically, so vulnerably, and being the lights that you are. Thank you.
100%.
Yeah.
I was, yeah, that one almost made me cry. That's exactly why we wanted to come at things both and assemble the experts who know the stuff and then relate it to people's actual lives. Because, like, I don't know about you, but I've been in doctor's office where it's sort of like Charlie Brown, wah wah wah, and if you don't like either understand or connect with a person, or they really don't have the solution that you're looking for, yeah, okay, I've got burnout. What kind of burnout? Like, what's my what's my solution? I don't know if I want to use art or physicality or like changing my lifestyle or listening to experts, like, so how do I go about it? And so I think that's it's so important to have all of you here as providers in the community. So thank you for remaining inside the community. We're going to make sure that you can connect with Michelle and Marcia and Peter and Kelly by making sure that their links have dropped. We're going to start to to wrap up here, take a little bit of a bio break as we lean into the VIP session. But before we go there, and I'll explain about how the breakout rooms work. We'll have those set up, and those who are in the VIP Zoom room, Brian's joining us here shortly, can pick the breakout session with the expert that they want. Then you can hear and ask your own personal questions, and we were going to have a Q&A session, so it's going to be great. But I wanted to tell you about the Wellness Connection portal. If you can't come today to the VIP section, or you wanted to, I wanted to tell you what's in our new container, that subscription community with the low cost to be able to ask a provider is one of the features where no more, wait lists for consultants, or that sort of thing. You come in, and the people who are in our vetted provider business circle are in there to answer questions and just be in there. It's like having a doctor on tap, and a searchable provider directory, channel topics. So for example, we'll have burnout and grief and cancer and menopause and all of these topics where everybody can go. So channels on specific topics, live Zoom chats, and Q&As with the speakers for the upcoming month's MicroSummit on particular topics. And I forgot to tell you guys about this. All of the beautiful speakers here, I want to thank you each for contributing to our library of tools and gifts. So like the goodie bag that the VIP members get, when your ticket's $37, but these guys in this room here have put together $1,173 worth of goodies for VIP ticket holders. So like totally great value. This is everything from workbooks and meditations and mini courses and that sort of thing. So all of the gifts from all of the speakers, from all of the MicroSummits, are going to be in the Wellness Connection portal. So you're getting all of the tools that you need as well. Plus you get early bird notifications, and you get all the replays from the MicroSummits, and we're doing an affiliate reward link. So when you tell people about it, you get a kickback. So you can, even get your subscription back. So we're pretty excited that we've launched that. I'm going to drop the link in the chat in Facebook. And yeah, we hope that you guys will help us build that. It's brand new. So we're looking forward to building this with you and making it possible to get your access to these providers and your questions answered, so that you can get through burnout and any other topic that you're going through. So thank you so much for being here. We're going to take a quick bio break. Is there anything else that we want to ask of our speakers? It's incredible to have you here. We're so honored. Thank you for contributing to the free live and for the upcoming VIP private session. Lorna?
I don't think any more questions, just more the logistic aspect of things is that we're just going to stay in the Zoom room here, take your bio break. I'll put the timer on, so we'll be able to see. We'll be starting at the top of the hour. So I'll put it on. It'll probably be at about 6 minutes by the time we put the timer on. And then we'll welcome in our VIP guests. And then we're just going to go in from there. So Adriana, was there anything that you wanted to add in before we do our bio break and then come back?
I just want to say, first of all, thank you. Thank you to each one of the speakers being here. They took their precious time of their family or the things that they had to do, and they take their time to be here for us and for you that you're watching this live or replay. So first of all, I know Michelle and Lorna, we really deeply say thank you from our hearts to you, to being here, to provide your wisdom, to provide a little bit of part of your heart, because you didn't share just your wisdom and experience, but you definitely shared the humanness of who you are. Just because we here as some people, we are here as experts, beyond the experts and the expertise that we have, we humans. And that's our goal, to connect with each other. So thank you to each of the speakers being here. Thank you for taking this precious time. Thank you to my beautiful co-hosts, Lorna and Michelle, because we couldn't do this without ourselves and supporting each other. And of course, thank you to you for watching this live or replay, because this is made for you and to you, to given to you as a gift from us. So thank you so much, everyone. If you have any comments or anything that if you watch this as a replay, please put it in the comments. We'll love each one of our guests to make sure you put your guest speaker, to put your link so people can connect with you. And then we will see you, the people watching us, for the next time on our next summit. We will keep you updated with notes for the next summit next month. Until then, take care of you, take care of your soul, your body, your mind and soul, your body, and we'll see you next time. And Michelle, you are the co-host, so you want to shut off the live stream.
We may be here for a while. Talk amongst yourselves. We can discuss. Here, actually, I'm going to flip it back to you as host, but lovely to have you guys, and thanks for being here.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Michelle, if you go to the top where it says the top custom live streaming, click that little arrow and there's a stop button there.
Perfect.